in this video we are going to take a look at how to add two fractions with different denominators. In this case the denominators are 20 and 14. The other thing that is we should note at is that we are adding two negative fractions. So let me just review a little bit of what happens when we have signs. So we know that when we multiply two positives, the answer is positive. Positive times a negative is negative. Negative times a positive is negative. And a negative times negative is a positive. So in this case, your question will change to negative 7 over 20 minus, because it's a positive times a negative, minus 1 over 14 or 1/14, right? So the next step would be, how do we find the common denominator? We will need that so that we can add these fractions. So for that, let's look at, so we know that to find the common denominator we need to find the lowest common multiple of the denominators. So denominators in this case are 20 and 14. So if we think of the multiples of 20 and 14 and then find the very first number which is common in the list. So if we create a list of multiples of 20, those will be 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180 and so on. And then if we look at the multiples of 14, the list will be starting with 14 and then 28, 42, 56, so on. And you know that 14 times 10 is 140. And if you look at the list, the very first number that's common in these two is 140, right? So that means our common denominator is 140. It's denominator and not denominators. So now the next step would be to find the equivalent fractions of negative 7 over 20 as something over 140. And we know that 20 times 7 is 140. So if you multiply top and bottom by 7, the equivalent fraction would be negative 49 over 140. Similarly, you can find the equivalent fraction of negative 1 over 14 as 10 over 140. Obviously, still negative. And once you have established this information, all you have to do is add these numbers. So let me just rewrite the question one more time. Negative 7 over 20 minus 1/14 is equal to negative 49 1/40 minus 10 over 140. Now since the denominators are equal, that means all we have to do is evaluate what the numerators would be. So negative 49 minus 10 would be negative 59 over 140, and that will be your solution.